The KAI KUH-1 Surion is based on the legendary French Puma design. It serves as the entry point into South Korea's growing defense industry helicopter market. However, some differences exist between this rotorcraft and other military systems in the country. As the weapon detective, we're now investigating the KUH-1 Surion, the Asian branch of the French wildcat helicopter dynasty. The KUH-1 Surion is the closing video in our French wildcat helicopter series. It is the last and probably the final rotorcraft based on the Puma design, which remains relevant after 60 years. Named after the initials Korean utility helicopter, the Surion's history begins in the new millennium. In 2001, South Korea launched a concept study for a medium-sized multi-role helicopter to replace its aging UH-1H, MD-500, and AH-1s, which would involve the acquisition of up to 475 to 700 new machines. Seoul approved the project in 2003 and established the Korea Multi-Role Helicopter Program Management Office in 2004. However, after conducting a risk analysis, working on a new rotorcraft capable of performing such varied tasks was deemed too risky and unfeasible. Therefore, in 2005, South Korea cancelled the program and divided it into two separate projects for transport and attack helicopters. In the same year, the country launched the redefined KUH program to develop a multi-role transport helicopter to replace the UH-1Hs. As these helicopters reached a critical age, the timescale was too tight and working on a new machine from scratch was impossible. Consequently, South Korea issued an international tender to find an experienced foreign partner, and three companies responded: AgustaWestland with the AW149, Bell Helicopter Textron with the UH-1Y Venom, and Eurocopter with the AS-332 Super Puma. Although Seoul also sent requests for proposals to Boeing, Skorsky, and several Russian manufacturers, they chose not to participate. After a careful assessment, in 2005, South Korea appointed Eurocopter, now Airbus Helicopters, as its primary partner, which would provide technical assistance for developing the power transmission, main gearbox, boom and tail gearboxes, as well as the automatic flight control system and rotor mast. The consortium, comprising KAI, the Agency for Defense Development, the Korea Aerospace Research Institute, and Eurocopter, developed a new helicopter known as the KUH-1 Surion. The Defense Acquisition Program Administration signed the research and development contract in 2006. To date, it remains South Korea's largest arms deal ever with a non-US company. The South Korean government financed 84% of the development stage. However, in 2009, the allocated budget was reduced in favor of the social welfare programs, which naturally caused delays. Furthermore, by citing the reduction in funding as an excuse, Eurocopter refused to deliver some of the core technologies promised in the contract, particularly the rotor blade design and manufacturing technology. Therefore, South Korea had to develop it independently. Many of the new systems developed for the Surion were tested on an SA-330 Puma at Eurocopter's Marineon facilities. KAI built 1 non-flying and 4 flying prototypes. The KUH-1 made its maiden flight on March 10, 2010. Deliveries of the Surion commenced in December 2012 and the helicopter achieved squadron-level operational capability on May 22, 2013. Due to an offset agreement for the sale of KT-1 training aircraft signed with Turkey, the Turkish company TAI produced some of the KUH-1 fuselages. KAI began developing the naval variant of the helicopter in 2011. The medical evacuation version of the Surion, the KUH-1M, made its maiden flight in January 2016. The MUH-1 Marineon, the land and sea-based amphibious variant for the Republic of Korea Marine Corps, took to the skies in January 2015. The MAH Marineon, the attack version, flew for the first time in December 2024. Like its fuselage, the Surion's main and tail rotor blades are crash-worthy construction. The self-sealing fuel tanks can withstand rounds up to 14.5 mm. Also, the helicopter's airframe and cockpit are resistant to 7.62 mm ammunition. A monitoring and diagnostic system constantly displays the structural condition. The helicopter is equipped with laser, radar, and missile warning receivers, as well as infrared suppressors. In a standard mission, the KUH-1 has a crew of 4, 2 pilots and 2 gunners, and it carries up to 9 troops. Without machine gunners, the transporting capability increases to 13 passengers. The cabin can be rapidly reconfigured to serve different roles. The Surion can lift a maximum of 3,753 kilograms of cargo internally or underslung. The pilot and co-pilot have helmet-mounted displays, enabling them to conduct full day and night operations, and 4 multifunction displays in the cockpit. The helicopter is also fitted with airborne collision avoidance, ground obstacle warning, IFF, and 4-axis dual-channel digital automatic flight control systems, as well as forward-looking infrared, 2 mission computers, and a weather radar. In addition to a couple of door-mounted 7.62mm K-16 machine guns, the KUH-1 can be armed with gun pods, rocket launchers, and guided anti-tank missiles. The Surion's Hanwha Techwind T700-701K turboshaft is a locally developed version of the General Electric T700, which is the most significant difference from the other members of the French Wildcat helicopter family. As the first rear-drive variant of the U.S. engine, it features a 701D common core, a high-efficiency counter-rotating power turbine, and a new full-authority digital engine control system. The main rotor can operate without lubrication for 30 minutes. The KUH-1 has a hovering ceiling of 2,717 meters and an endurance of 4 hours and 12 minutes. The Republic of Korea Armed Forces claims that Surion has maintained an availability rate of over 80% since entering service. Iraq and South Korea have already selected the helicopter. The KUH-1 has a 4-person crew and can transport up to 9 troops. It has a length of 19 meters, a rotor diameter of 15.8 meters, and a height of 5.01 meters. The helicopter's empty and maximum takeoff weights are approximately 4,970 and 8,940 kilograms respectively. 2 1,855 shaft horsepower General Electric Hanwha Aerospace T700-701K turboshaft engines provide a top speed of 283 km per hour. Its cruising speed is 270 km per hour and it has a range of 839 km. The helicopter can ascend to an altitude of 4,595 meters, in other words, 15,075 feet. The KUH-1M medical evacuation variant is equipped with medical devices and a motorized stretcher system to treat 6 patients. The MUH-1 Marineon, operated by the Republic of Korea Marine Corps, shares 96% of its parts with the Surion. It features a folding main rotor for deployment on Dokdo-class amphibious assault ships and includes an integrated flotation system, an auxiliary fuel tank, and specialized radio equipment. KAI is also developing an airborne mine countermeasure system that can be fitted to the Marineon. The MAH Marineon, currently under development, is the attack version of the helicopter, featuring stub wings with 6 underwing hardpoints for anti-tank missiles, rocket pods, and air-launched Mistrals, as well as a chin-mounted 20mm gun turret. The KUH-1 ASW is the intended anti-submarine and anti-surface warfare version. The KUH-1E export version is designed for both utility and attack missions. Equipped with the Garmin G5000H touchscreen glass integrated avionics systems, TACS-2 traffic collision avoidance systems, and a 3-dimensional weather radar in the nose, it features stub wings similar to the MAH Marineon. The helicopter can carry up to 18 passengers. KAI also offers KUH-1P, KUH-1FS, KUH-1EM, KUH-C1, and KUH-1CG variants for civil and government operators. Compared to other members of the French Wildcat family, the Surion is truly a distant cousin, not only geographically, but also in its design philosophy. It also carries the DNA of the UH-1 and UH-60 in addition to that of the Super Puma. Its power plant comes from the General Electric T700 used on the Black Hawk. Either the Puma or the UH-60 can transport 2 squads. The Caracal brings the total to 3. Conversely, the KUH-1 is designed to carry a single squad similar to the Huey, which sets it apart from the Puma, Cougar, Caracal, IAR-330, and the Oryx. South Korea had produced 130 Skorsky S-70s under license. So why did it not continue with this helicopter? As previously mentioned, Seoul also invited Skorsky from the US, but the company chose not to participate in the tender. Washington has not envied South Korea's defense industry progress until it pertains to a sector that directly affects it. The South Koreans have managed to sell tanks, self-propelled howitzers, jet trainers, artillery rockets, or even frigates since the U.S.A. has long exited the market. However, Bell, Boeing, and Skorsky remain among the major players in the helicopter market. Therefore, they have been reluctant to permit the entry of a new competitor offering their technology at a more affordable price. Conversely, Europeans saw breaking the US dominance in the lucrative South Korean market as beneficial. Such cooperation would also create new export opportunities for them. Collaborating with Airbus helicopters has also benefited the Light Armed Helicopter Program. Based on the H-155, the new rotorcraft will replace the critically aged AH-1 Cobras and the MD-500 Defenders. However, over time, the French also displayed jealousy in certain areas. Eurocopter later declined to deliver some of the core technologies promised in the contract, particularly the rotor blade design and manufacturing technology. In 2014, the Board of Audit and Inspection of the Defense Acquisition Program Administration initiated an investigation into the level of indigenous technology used in the helicopter. It was revealed that the technology transfer agreement with Airbus helicopters only covered 134 of the 450 components used in the rotorcraft's powered transmission system. Therefore, we can say that South Korea has not succeeded in entering the military helicopter industry as it had hoped. The KUH-1 naturally experienced some teething problems, like others. We do not list them as they can be found in many sources to keep our videos short and sweet. KAI has already addressed many of them and will eventually handle the rest. Losing the tender in the Philippines was not unexpected, and we should accept that the Surion had little chance against the mighty Black Hawk. The helicopter is now under the watch of Kyrgyzstan and Vietnam. It holds a strong position there since these countries are distant from the US's interests. South Korea's decision to preserve Puma's basic design shows that it remains highly effective today. The past 60 years have not made it outdated. Nonetheless, the evolution of helicopter technologies is now taking a new path. Although the original plan also involved replacing South Korea's existing Black Hawk fleet with the KUH-1, Seoul might reconsider its decision in favor of the Valor or a similar machine. Based on our analysis, the KUH-1 is less promising than many other recent South Korean defense systems, which have been rising stars in the market for a decade. However, it is not a failure either. The Surion provides a significant capability increase for South Korea. Thanks for watching our video. And please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click the bell button to be notified of our new videos. Also, you can now click the join button to support our channel. And as always, we would greatly appreciate all of the likes, comments and shares.